that are on a more positive note. That there are in fact people from the different ethnic, social class backgrounds who are reaching out to the flood victims, and especially young people from middle class and more privileged backgrounds who are trying to collect funds and distribute immediately needed goods and services to the flood victims. And some of these include diaspora youth, some of them who were in Pakistan and the same during the summer break. And so that really does offer a way forward of bridging these class as well as ethnic divides of the Sindhis and the Punjabis and the minorities coming together, the men and the women coming together, and a way to kind of transcend some of the traditional divisions and the feudal hierarchy. And I think that in this, the diaspora are really key. Whether we like it or not, whether it's the Sri Lankan diaspora or the Pakistani diaspora, the diasporas play a very important role. There's big literature on this, but this role can be either positive or negative. It is not a given. If you look at the Sri Lankan experience, for example, the Tamil diaspora, who were very passionate about their concerns and minority grievances, but nevertheless ended up supporting extremist group that ended up killing its own people and wiping out the moderates. So there's a lesson to be learned from those unfortunate experiences. There's also lessons to be learned from other diasporas, like for example the Indian diaspora, who have played a very important role in terms of the development of the IT sector and India's economic growth and boom. So I think that it can go either way, but what it calls for is a much deeper understanding, not just of the region, but also global developments. And in this regard, I think we need to ask, what is the most important and the most immediate issue facing the world today? And I think that the floods give us the space to ask this question, because the new scientific studies, there's just a report that came out from the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the report. It says that global warming is irreversible. It's going to be there for at least the next 1,000 years. So and global warming and climate change and its effects don't know boundaries. If you look at greenhouse gas emissions from a country like Pakistan, they emit only about 0.4% of the greenhouse gas emissions. Pakistan is the 135th in per capita greenhouse gas emissions in the world. But the effects on a country like Pakistan, with a very vulnerable ecological environment, are much, much greater. So the environmental effects knows no boundaries, but at the same time, I think that it can help bring communities and people together, not just within Pakistan or South Asia, but globally. And I think that at a time when our planetary home, the home of all of us, humanity, is collapsing around us, we need a perspective that brings us together, which is not to say that we should not overlook the different forms of discrimination and ethno-regional issues. Those should not be suppressed, but how can we have a balanced approach that takes into account the particularities, but at the same time does not undermine the common challenge that we are facing around the world. And I think that, to me, from what I have studied and looked at over the last couple of weeks, preparing for this presentation, is a lesson of the tragedy that Pakistan is facing right now, and the hope lies in people like ourselves, people like you, the diaspora, and particularly the younger generation, that is trying to move away from conditioned thinking, out of the box, so to speak, and take leadership and to work in new ways to find justice, but also a sense of unity amidst the diversity. So I hope that these very general remarks of some value to you. I have not shared that much in terms of my research and background from Sri Lanka, but I hope there'll be opportunities to work together with you in the future. Thank you.
Dr. Mandaraj. On a personal, well, not personal note, but on an additional note, I have spoken with Dr. Banquet, and she is very interested in writing or doing research on cities. So if anybody would like to speak with her about this and the opportunities that you do to assist her in this matter, I'm sure she would welcome any point of view. I welcome now, as we've all anticipated, Congressman Brad Sherman. Congressman Brad Sherman serves in California and has been a wonderful advocate for the Californian people as well as the people of Sin. I have been very happy to communicate with him in his office in the past year, as he has done wondrous work for SAPAC, and not SAPAC in per se, but for the Sin people. He's written on numerous accounts, the Sin atrocities, and raised serious issues onto the congressional floor. So we are so grateful to have him here with us tonight, repeating his performance from last year, where he was a welcomed speaker at our inaugural event. Congressman Sherman, a bit about him. He is serving his 7th term in Congress. He's the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on International Terrorism, Non-Proliferation, and Trade. Sherman received his law degree from Harvard and his bachelor's degree from UCLA. And he is just so apropos for tonight. So thank you, Congressman Sherman.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, I'm Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. It's a pleasure to be with you.
And my stomach is full.
Yes. As was mentioned, I've served in Congress for 14 years, and during those 14 years I've served on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I'm a senior member of that committee and chair on one of its subcommittees. My family has had a long relationship with South Asia. My grandfather worked in the Sindh province in 1949 and 1950 on behalf of what we now call USAID and the United Nations Labor Organization. And my wife worked in development in South Asia, both in Tamil Nadu and also in Bangladesh with BRAC, the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, and had a chance to travel to Sindh and many parts of Pakistan. I ought to acknowledge that my colleague Dan Burton was here earlier. Since he's not here, when you see him, say that I spent most of my speech praising him. And since he's not here, he will have to believe you. Want to recognize Igor Pasternak, an important businessman from my district. Igor is working on developing a new kind of aeroship that unfortunately isn't available yet, but will in future disasters allow the United States to respond more quickly and get aid to where it's needed in the most remote areas without needing infrastructure and an airship. I want to thank the Sindhi American PAC first for the generous support that it's provided to America's most important political cause, my re-election, but also the insight and information that they've been able to give me about what's going on in Sindh and throughout Pakistan. I want to recognize John Broadkey, who's professional director at the staff at our subcommittee. John and I have divvied up the work of the subcommittee. He does all the thinking, analysis, research, decision-making. My job is to stand up here and look pretty, and I think I'm doing a good job. Now, but seriously, I want to urge all of you who have an expertise in Sindh and in South Asia to get information to John. A lot of times people will email things to me. We get maybe 2,000-3,000 emails a day because everybody in the world says, oh yeah, let's email all the congressmen. John.Broadkey@mail.house.gov. He looks it over, highlights the important parts, and gets it on my desk right away without having to go through the 3,000 emails. They do have interns going through the 3,000 emails, but they're a week or two late, behind schedule. So get information to John. I want to acknowledge some of the people who are here. You'd think we were at a medical conference, given the number of doctors that we have here. If I have to have a heart seizure and know that there'll be people here to this is the place to do it. I want to acknowledge in particular Dr. Abati, Dr. Amadani, yes.
That's me.
Dr. Kamawani and Dr. Halipota. And if I mispronounced your name, I'm sorry. My knowledge of the Sindh language is not extensive. And I especially want to thank Sufi as the executive director of this organization.
Yes, sir.
For getting me involved, for giving me the information, for bringing this whole group together. Thank you very much. Now,
Thank you.
first, I'd like to address the flood, since that's what's of immediate concern. As all of you know, the Indus River began to flood on July 22. Some 61,000 square miles has been flooded. 20 million people have been impacted. Nearly 2,000 killed. 1.8 million homes destroyed. But particularly in the Sindh province, some 7 million people have been affected. This is almost 20% of the population of the province, and an even larger percentage of the rural population.
10 million, sir.
See, I get good information from the Sindhi American Fact. It's 10 million, not 7 million. In any case, new flooding occurred just this Monday. There are some 400 houses in Sindh that were, 400,000 houses that were damaged. And almost 3 million acres of land in Sindh has been affected. That represents over 8% of the total area and includes 1.7 million acres of cropland. U.S. assistance has been first in the world, but perhaps not all that we need to do. The U.S. is in the process of providing $300 million of aid. $210 million of this is supporting immediate relief efforts through both Pakistani and international organizations. $50 million is for the initial recovery efforts, such as rebuilding. Some $2 million, I'm told, by USAID has been gone to a particular organization that is supposed to focus on local matters in Sindh. And I look forward to learning from some of you how effective has the U.S. effort been in Sindh, and particularly the rural areas of Sindh. Some 3 million pounds of relief supplies have been rushed in as of a few days ago. Now, I have done everything I can, no, correction, I've done everything I've thought of so far, and I'm here to get some additional ideas. to try to prod the U.S. government to do the right thing. I have written to both the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Director of USAID, Dr. Shaw, Dr. Ravi.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you, John.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
To focus on the historically underserved populations, particularly those in Sindh, and have issued statements for the congressional record. Just today, of course, we had our conference. I again want to thank my staff for putting this conference together, and I'm pleased to report that at least two of the professionals from USAID were there, and I hope they went away with some important insights into what the United States should be doing. That conference held in the Capitol, it was a chance to highlight the issues that you and I care about. Now, it is particularly important to note the Enhanced Partnership with Pakistan Act of 2009, which provided for long-term recovery and rehabilitation for the flooded areas. This was a bill that we had passed earlier in 2009. We have since passed a resolution urging that the bill be used to provide for that rehabilitation, and also specifically noting the ongoing emergency in Sindh province. We have to, with our aid, and of course this bill provides a plan for $1.5 billion in aid each year from 2010 to 2015 to focus on the importance of democracy in Pakistan. Because we've seen a relatively small clique in Pakistan that combines some elements of the military with an exaggerated, sometimes radical Islam as a basis for holding power. They wrap themselves in national security and anti-India rhetoric. They wrap themselves in a sometimes extreme view of Islam, and this is their excuse for not providing for democracy. Pakistan works best when all of its people are consulted. It is able to achieve a tolerance toward religion and an absence of tension and hatred. But all too often, the military in Pakistan thinks that it has somehow U.S. support for going out of the barracks and into the halls of Parliament. And we need to do everything possible to, as the United States Congress, to say U.S. aid to Pakistan, and we say this in the law, is for a democratic Pakistan, and hopefully for a Pakistan in which all elements are treated fairly.
Thank you so much.
So I look forward to working with you. This is a period of intense politics in the United States. This is and I very much appreciate your support. I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to learning more about Pakistan and Sindh from people in this room. Thank you very much.